The views expressed on Teachavision are those of the interviewee and interviewer and do not represent Screenless Allies as a whole. Hello there, and welcome to Teachavision, where everyone has a different vision of learning, episode number 39. My name is Jose Briseño, and it's been a while, but we are now back with a new computer. It's a Dell Inspiron 3910. If anyone is interested in checking out that computer, I promise you the price is worth it. I want to take a little bit to thank Alyssa Minwell for giving me this idea. Y'all know who she is from the interview that we had on episode number 30 through 34. Thank you, Alyssa, for telling me about these new Dell computers. Oh, and a little bit of self-advertisement since she does work for Dell. Well, now we're back with more content for you guys to consume. And today, we're going to continue the interview with Chris Tabb, orientation and mobility instructor. And today, it's all about the evolution of technology in the orientation and mobility field. All of that and some more jokes right here on Teachavision by Screenless Allies. But first, it's time for your Teachavision Tech Tip, where we make your technology life a little bit easier by giving you a hint or tip on how to use it. Whether it's computers, whether it's mobile devices, we have it all right here on the Teachavision Tech Tip on Teachavision by Screenless Allies. Continuing our tech tips with the Chameleon 20 Braille display, today we're going to talk about how to pair the Chameleon to a device. Now, there is one thing that I forgot to mention, in that all the tech tips we provided for the Chameleon work on all of the new Braille displays made by Humanware. So that is the Chameleon, the Mantis Q40, which is the QWERTY edition of the Braille display, and the Brilliance BI 20 and 40X displays. All these have the exact same features, except that on the Brilliance, the settings was renamed to options, and there is a command to get to it, which is space with the letter O. Another difference is that the Mantis Q40 does not talk. The other displays do. If you want to pair a device, first make sure that it is either an iOS device or an Android device, or a Windows or Mac computer. Follow the instructions on the devices to pair them to the Chameleon directly. But first, to pair a new device, hold down the Enter key for 5 seconds. You will hear a beep followed by a message on the display that says, activate your Bluetooth settings and search for device, depending on the name of your device, whether it's a Chameleon, Mantis, Brilliant, followed by a string of numbers. This is your serial number. This will help you locate that device in your device's settings. On iOS and Android, it's under Settings, Bluetooth. On Windows and Mac, search for Bluetooth and follow the instructions. Once you locate and start the pairing process, your Braille display will then vibrate and will say the name of the device that connected to it, followed by a Braille display. At that point, you should see Braille on it. Remember that in order for this to work, a screen reader must be running on your device, whether it's TalkBack, VoiceOver, NVDA on Windows, JAWS, or any other that supports this display. Most screen readers support this Braille display series. We hope this Teachavision tech tip was helpful to you. And now, on with the show. Actually, there is one thing I do want to try. Speaking of innovations, and is kind of more of a topic. I don't know if you ever heard of the biped.
I'm not sure if I've heard of this.
So this is actually supposed to be a device that doesn't replace the wide cane. It complements it, but it's supposed to help you. Like, it's supposed to look with a camera while you're traveling, and it warns you, like, it vibrates on like each side of your shoulder. It's a vest, and it's supposed to vibrate like if doors are coming through. There's a sound beacon as well that will tell you, like, if there's doors, if there's trees. It's supposed to identify different items and tell you what you're passing. And if you're integrated with GPS signals, then it even tells you like the locations as well, which is pretty nifty.
So I haven't seen that particular one, but lots of things that are similar. And so the whole idea of sensory substitution, or taking what we would sense in some ways and putting them on other parts of our body, is an area that continues to expand in terms of our wearable devices, haptics. So basically our whole body can be used to convey information. We're typically used to getting information from our, let's say, our ears and our hand because we feel the cane or the dog doing something, and maybe even the bottoms of our feet. But we've got our back, we've got our stomach, we've got our neck, all different places, forearms, our wrists, where additional information can be provided as we're traveling. So different technologies are beginning to access that to relay things to us And it sometimes could be that presence. I could have something like a tree branch that I'm walking closer to. I could understand through vibration where that's at. There are some people who are using a compass, like a belt. Wherever north is, I can feel that vibrating somewhere around either my stomach or my back. If north is behind me, I can feel that spot on my back and turn toward it. Now it's vibrating on my stomach. Lots of different ways that information can be relayed about what's around us to different parts of our body.
Oh, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, and you were talking about your feet. Yeah, that was actually one thing that you were telling me about a while back. The shoes that you had. You had some shoes that did that.
You could walk and it would know whether you were making a right turn or a left turn. If your right foot vibrated, you knew you had to turn right. If your left foot vibrated, you knew you had to turn left. And so there are different innovations that continue to develop. Lately, people seem to be making them more around our neck. So something that will go around comfortably to lay over your neck, not quite like a scarf, a little firmer than a scarf, but basically they can also relay at that point auditory information because it's near your ears, or vibration information at different points around your neck.
Right. That definitely makes a lot of sense. So, we're talking about the innovations now. Oh, but before that, how did the computer, speaking of technology, how did the computer sustain itself in a desert island?
How?
It filtered its emails for dates.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. So I'll be here all night. All right. So
I'm so glad
we're talking about. So now we're talking about innovations. What is something that you already answered partially this question, but let me ask it this way: what would you personally, sir, like to see in regards to innovations that you could think of that you think might be around the corner, like in the next couple of years? Apart from the driverless cars, that's something I'm looking forward to in the future because. Man, I think I can impress some females with those cars. Let me tell you.
Well, I got to tell you, though I'm excited about all the advances, I'm learning that there are so many different layers of things that have to happen. We have lots more autonomous vehicles, both for driving people, but also for doing things like delivering packages. So that in many cities now, it could be a pizza or it could be a package. Federal Express, Amazon, other companies are developing basically robots to deliver packages that are going to drive on the sidewalk that will be location aware through things like GPS, but will also use AI, artificial intelligence, to determine if there's something in the way, like a bicycle, a pedestrian, to be able to know when to pause or go around an obstacle. So lots of autonomous vehicles are entering, but for cars, there's lots of things that we still have to develop in terms of our laws, in terms of regulations, who's going to be responsible when there's an accident. Lots of things that still have to come into place for those things to be available for most people.
Right. So there's still things going on for that for sure. But it would, hopefully one day in my lifetime, we can say, man, I got a driverless car coming up and I'm going to go take my girlfriend on a date. I made a joke to my supervisor and said, well, if you ever want to come on a ride, and she goes, well, that vehicle better have about 10-star reviews before I get on it.
Well, they are happening in different places. There are some cities around the country that are allowing driverless vehicles to operate. Lots of different things that are on the forefront for sure.
Right, for sure. So back to the question of innovation. What is something that you would like to see personally be improved in general?
Well, I have to tell you, probably not the answer you were hoping for, but the longer I'm in the field, the more I come back to what are just the basics of O&M? What are just the basics of being able to get around safely and problem solve? Because there's some things that technology just can't do for us. There are some things that we have to do. I guess, when we think about all the science fiction movies and we have the battle between the technology that's trying to overtake us and our human abilities, those human abilities, when refined, those are the things that help us the most. And so for all the technology, we still have to remember that when that technology isn't present, we still have to function. So many times people are hoping that an app or a thing that we can buy off the shelf is going to solve everything. But even with the autonomous vehicle, the driverless car, if I jump in with my date, my wife, and I say, please take us to dinner, and it brings us to the street where the restaurant's at, we still have to get out of the vehicle and then find our way to get from the vehicle to the restaurant, and from the front door of the restaurant to the check-in counter, and then from the check-in counter to the table. Those things
makes sense.
Aren't going to be solved by technology. That's just developing our basic skills. So the technology is always just the icing on the cake.
Right. And like I said, I actually like that answer as well. Everyone has a different point of view, and I like that. You're still going, so to speak, back to the books, back to the starting points. Yes, sir. Yeah. Or as other, people my age or younger say, man, back to the old generation, but it's true. But it's true though. I mean, robots can only do so much. Definitely makes a lot of sense in that situation. So I do appreciate you sharing that because robots can only do so much. What are some things that, obviously everyone has different points of view, but what are some things that you would recommend for a toolbox for someone who's totally blind or visually impaired from your point of view?
Well, in the toolbox, we have things about knowing about what you need. Some of those are, many people don't know what size shoes they wear or what size pants they wear because somebody always bought that for them. So it's important to know your own needs. If something happened to your cane, would you know what size cane you need? Would you know where to buy it? Would you know what kind of tip you use? Those are things that people should have just as a basic, just like knowing your own phone number, so that if you did need to replace something, you could. The ability to understand basic orientation systems like address systems to be able to find locations, very, very important. The ability to be able to use landmarks, clues, and cues in different environments to travel somewhere new and then come back. That might be that you're visiting a friend. You're staying at a hotel in a new town. You know there's a Starbucks nearby. Can you go out, adventure 2 blocks, and come back? If not, then those are things you could start right from your own home. How can I go out and just explore? I'm going to go down 2 houses. Can I come back to my house? How do I tell when I'm at my house? Do you have that basic ability to remember or keep track of using spatial updating to be able to come back to where you started?
Makes sense. So again, back to the books, the fundamentals of O&M. How about some canes? Any ideal combos? A pre-cane device for a 25-year-old? I mean,
we've got all of those things because there are some adults who are newly visually impaired who have they're still learning the way to travel non-visually. Our first go-to is to use that traditional cane, a one-handed option, we'll say. But for some people, they may also have just suffered some other condition like a stroke, and they may not have the physical ability to hold a cane in one hand. So we may need to go to a two-handed option initially or use some other device. So it really depends on an individual circumstance. There are some new developments in canes. There's a new one called the no jab cane for people who always find that they're always getting their cane in their stomach when they find a crack in the ground. This cane actually has like a shock absorber in the grip. You can get that from, I think, either on Amazon or through Ambutech. There are those new tips that we talked about. I think that for people, just like we have different kinds of shoes for different activities. I might wear one pair of shoes to church and another pair of shoes to go out hiking, or sandals for the beach, something like that. When we have different terrains, it's okay to have one cane that we use when we go hiking and another cane that we use when we're at work. You don't have to have just one cane or just one tip. You can have options, just like people have different clothing for different environments. You can have different canes and different tips for different types of travels.
I didn't even know they had the no jab cane, actually, if you want my honesty. I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a relatively new development. I believe that the gentleman was from the veterans. He was a veteran, went through training, and many times, especially when we're getting used to a cane, we'll grab that grip really tight. And when we do that, we find like a crack in the sidewalk, it typically will come back and kind of wind up in our stomach. It's not a fun feeling.
Yeah, been there, done that. Actually, a little below the stomach. That was not even fun either.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. When we loosen our grip just a bit, the cane, when it finds something like a crack, has a tendency to go more up than in. So it goes more toward the sky than into our stomachs. But there's also different ways that we can hold the cane. Traditionally, in most comms development, they learn about using a hand-centered technique. There are also ways to use an open palm grip and holding the cane slightly to the side. Different ways of doing things. But for every orientation mobility instructor, you're going to have a different opinion.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Teachavision by Screenless Allies. Did you enjoy what you heard? We encourage you to look back at our past podcast episodes, which are equally as awesome as this one. If you want to know more information about Screenless Allies, we encourage you to visit our website at www.screenlessallies.com. That is SCREENLESSALLIES.com. All one word. Want to keep up with our happenings? Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Screenless Allies official, all one word. Want to get in contact with us for any reason whatsoever? Email us info@screenlessallies.com. Also, please share with your friends and others that might find Screenless Allies beneficial and fun. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.